Hello and welcome back once again to the Wrestling Rant. The Raw Goes Country episode of Raw from November 18th, 2013 in Nashville, Tennessee. Well, I pretty much knew it wasn't going to be very good going in, but it still was not as bad as Raw was a couple of weeks ago. I don't remember how many weeks ago it was when it was terrible, but this is not quite as bad, but still not very good either. Anyways, and I have to kind of jump around in my notes because I was out doing something for the first couple of minutes of Raw. I missed the opening segment, but I did find out what it was. Apparently, we got a recap of last week, basically everything that happened last week, while Triple H and Stephanie were gone. And they said that later on tonight, we're going to do a 12-man tag team match. The Usos, Cody Rhodes and Goldust, CM Punk and Daniel Bryan versus The Shield and the Wyatts. Now, you may recall I kind of predicted that to be the match at Survivor Series. Well, that ain't happening. That's going to be the main event for tonight. What we're getting at Survivor Series is we're actually getting two different matches. And I'll come to that later, but that was our first segment. After that little bit, Triple H and Stephanie come out, and they recap the Big Show attacking Randy last week, chokeslamming through the table, whatever the fuck. The two of them talk, and then Randy Orton's music hits, and he comes out pissed off. He's pissed because Stephanie and Triple H weren't there last week, and they couldn't help him. You know, the Shield didn't help him. He's pissed, and he's basically saying all this shit. He's yelling at them that they didn't help him, and the Shield didn't help him, and whatever the fuck. And then, the actual general managers of the show, Brad Maddox and Vicky Guerrero, or at least the general manager of this show and the general manager of SmackDown, which I still don't understand why she thinks she has any reason being on Raw. But yeah, Maddox and Vicky come out, and they're trying to say, you know, even though we were kind of responsible or in charge last week, Maddox says, you know, it was all Vicky's fault. Maddox is awesome. You can say whatever you want about him, and we'll see more of how awesome he is in just a couple of minutes. But we'll get to that. He blames Vicky, and of course she's all, you know, like, what the fuck, and you know, anyways. But anyways, Stephanie, from back in the ring, because Maddox and Vicky were on the stage, Stephanie back in the ring says, you know, with all that handicap stuff you were doing last week, I think you've become desensitized. So, in order to make you guys remember how tough this is, you two are actually going to be in a match tonight. Yes, Brad Maddox and Vicky Guerrero are going to be in singles competition. Vicky is going to go one-on-one with our Divas champion, AJ. And Maddox is going to go one-on-one with Randy. And to supposedly make it fair, air quotes, make it fair for Brad, Triple H makes it a no DQ match. And Maddox doesn't even get time to change into his wrestling gear because if you remember, he actually is a trained wrestler. He doesn't have time to go get his gear. Triple H says, no, it's happening right now and you're going to wrestle in what you're wearing right now. And he says that's basically going to be right now after the commercial break. Well, Brad tries to just kind of sneak away. He goes to go through the curtain and there's Kane all of a sudden, who blocks Brad. and basically says, nope, get your ass down there. So whatever. That's the end of that segment, basically. And then they say, up next, well, not next, but up later on, we're going to have the match that we were supposed to get as the opening of the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, I believe it was. Big E Langston versus Curtis Axel for the Intercontinental title. That's going to come up a little bit later on. And then they go to a commercial break. After the commercial... Oh, right. After the commercial, the match between Orton and Brad starts. And it's no DQ. In the opening, Maddox is trying to stall. He doesn't want to fight Randy, obviously. He gets a microphone and he's behind the commentators like, we don't have to do this, Randy. We don't have to do this. But Randy has none of it. He goes to attack him. Brad clocks Randy upside the head with the microphone. Twice. This lays Randy the fuck out because he's been made to look like such a bitch. A couple of mic shots just completely wastes him. He rolls him back into the ring, and he gets Randy on his knees and grabs him by the head and plants him with a nice Miz-style, big snapping Maurice-style snap DDT, which, by the way, that's where Miz got it because he married Maurice. Anyways, he hits the DDT, whatever the fuck. He goes for a cover, only gets 2, and after Randy kicks out, he just gets pissed. He starts throwing Maddox around, they go out of the ring, he throws Maddox over the announcer's table, and then he grabs him again, throws him into the ring stairs, and then throws him into the ring post, on the other side of the ring, of course, and then slings him over the barricade and gives him the barricade hung DDT, plants him on the floor. And then he grabs the microphone from before and throws that in the ring. And he throws Maddox into the ring too. Maddox is laid out because he's completely wasted after that onslaught. Randy grabs the microphone and gets on top of Maddox. He mounts him like a UFC guy, and he even puts Maddox's arms underneath his own legs, so he pins him down. He can't go anywhere. And Randy's got the mic in one hand, and he grabs Maddox's head with his other hand and just starts repeatedly bashing his head with the fucking microphone, and all you can hear is this thunk, 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 thunk noise, just repeatedly, 10, 12 fucking times. And he finally stops, and the referee's like, whoa, 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 and he's checking on Brad, and he has to back Randy away again. He's checking on Brad some more, and then the ref calls for the bell. Match is done, because Maddox can't defend himself anymore. This is a referee stoppage. This doesn't happen very often. Randy just killed Maddox, essentially. Knocked him the fuck out. So, Randy wins, basically, by ref stoppage because Maddox can't continue. And that's the end of that segment, basically. After that, they cut backstage to Curtis Axel looking cocky, walking through one of the hallways coming out for the match, which is next. And after that, they show Big E backstage walking through another hallway, and he's coming out as well. So the match is next. And they cut to a commercial. When they come back, they announce that the Survivor Series pre-show panel is going to be Mick Foley, Bret Hart, and Booker T. And I'm guessing Matthews will probably be the host again. Who gives a fuck? After that, we get a recap of what just happened between Randy and Maddox. And they show, during the break, Maddox being loaded onto a frickin' stretcher, complete with a neck brace, and they start taking him away, and then they cut to live, backstage, he's still being stretchered out, they finally put him in the ambulance, and take him the hell to the hospital. And Vicky's standing by, and she looks, pale, because she looks like that's what's going to happen to me. And I'm thinking, Vicky, you're going against AJ. I don't think you're going to get beat quite that badly. But anyways, back in the arena, a remixed version of Big E Langston's music hits, and out he comes. Followed by Curtis Axel. And then we get the big match, the big title match introductions from Roberts. And we finally get the match. Which, there wasn't really much to the match, not that I saw. There was a commercial break in the middle of the match. After the match, or after the commercial, I don't really remember exactly how it happened, but Big E countered out of Axel's finishing move that he ripped off of Kurt Hawkins. He counters out of it, ran him over with a big avalanche clothesline thing, and then he takes down the straps on his singlet. He picks up Axel on his shoulder, fucking face plants him with the big ending, and he gets the win. We have a new Intercontinental Champion, fucking finally. No more Axel with the damn title, because he didn't deserve it. He shouldn't even get a rematch. New Intercontinental Champion. The announcers, or I should say the commentators, were putting him over big on commentary. The crowd blew the fuck up when he won, because they were tired of seeing Axel with the belt too. So yeah, we got a new Intercontinental Champion, and it's about fucking time. You should have had this happen at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. Because having him go against Ambrose for the US title, there was no point to it. But from what I've heard, the only reason was Axel was hurt. And that's why they changed the pay-per-view thing. So, I don't understand. Oh well, who cares? We got a new champion and that's all well and great. Okay. Up next, we cut backstage to the locker room where Randy is talking to the Shield. And he's essentially yelling at them for not helping him last week. And then Roman, I think he cuts in and he says, look, last week the Authority wasn't here. We wasn't working for anybody else. So it didn't fucking matter what we did. But this week, the Authority is here, and if they want us to have your back, well, that's what we're gonna do. Whatever. It didn't really mean much. Commercial break. And when we come back from the commercial break, we get the second worst segment of the night. Every diva on the roster, the WWE roster that is, every diva is in the ring with Jerry, the King, Lawler, and there's a shitload of chairs. Can you guess where this is going? Yeah. Because we're doing Raw Country, we gotta do us a round of musical chairs. Thankfully, it doesn't last long. They start the music, and it's one of these crappy country songs. I think it's by the same band that plays later on. I don't care. But the music starts playing, and the first one eliminated is Natalya. Then they go again, and then Alicia Fox gets eliminated. Whatever. The music starts playing again, and the divas have been, just pushing, shoving each other, just acting like royal bitches the entire time. It finally breaks down into a huge goddamn brawl. And I believe we're left with the chicks from the Total Divas show, and for some reason Natalya and Alicia came back during this brawl. I don't know why. But we end up with the Total Divas on the inside of the ring, and the rest of the divas on the outside of the ring. I don't understand why they think anybody gives a rat's ass about this Total Divas shit, and I don't understand why in the hell they think they can put faces and heels together on the side of the divas who aren't in the Total Divas thing. But anyways, big brawl. The musical chairs thing is done. They're not going to continue that shit. They cut to another fucking commercial. And when we come back, the Big Show's music hits and his pyro blows up the stage, and then he comes out. He's having a match. And then out comes Ryback. And he comes out. To no reaction, by the way. Show versus Ryback, and it actually turns out to be decent. Let's see. The finish of the match basically went like this. Ryback had Show beaten down, and he was going for the meat hook. He goes for the meat hook, and Show stops him by grabbing him by the throat, going to chokeslam him. But he grabs him by the throat, but he's kind of tired still. Ryback fights out of it, and hits the meat hook anyways. He goes for the shell shock, and he hits it. Ryback actually hits the shell shock on Big Show. Big Show helped him out a lot, though. But Ryback jumps over Big Show, as he normally does, and he goes for the cover, and he only gets 2. Big Show kicks out after the shell shock. He's the first person to ever do so. So Ryback picks Big Show up, and he goes for it again, but Show gets out of it. Right, he slides down the back, pushes Ryback into the ropes, and as he comes back, he cracks him with the KO punch. Ryback's out. Big Show covers him and gets the win. So Big Show wins. Big Show looks kind of dazed, but he's standing there. He's like, yeah, I won. And then you see from behind him, Randy slides into the ring with the title belt. Big Show turns around just in time to notice, runs at him, and runs through him with a spear. So Randy gets speared out of his boots. He rolls out of the ring and goes back up the ramp. He's holding his ribs. Anyways, that segment's pretty much over. They cut backstage to Zack Ryder talking with these 2 guys who are obviously from the damn country band. I've never heard of them. I've never heard of the band. I don't listen to country music. I don't like country music. I don't know who the fuck these guys are, and I don't care. But Ryder's talking to these country guys, and then up comes Mahal and Slater and McIntyre, and they're wearing country clothes, and they're calling themselves the Rhinestone Cowboys. Just some fucking facepalm worthy shit. Anyways, after that, they say that we're going to hear about John Cena's status later on. And we cut to a commercial. John Cena's status after having his arm nearly broke last week on Raw by Del Rio, and then being put through a table by Del Rio on SmackDown during the fucking arm wrestling thing. Which they recap later, but we'll get to that. Anyways, after the commercial, Randy is backstage in the trainer's room, the doctor's room. He's got ice packs on his ribs. And he's pissed off. He's yelling at the trainer, the doctor guy. Tells him to get the fuck out of here. He's pissed. We cut back to the ring, where the Real Americans are in the ring, and Coulter has to talk. He does his We the People thing, and whatever. And then I'm like, okay, who are they facing? Kofi's music hits. He comes out. I'm like, okay. And then the Miz's music hits, and he comes out. So we get the Real Americans versus Kofi and the Miz. This match, I don't even really know what else to say about this match. What ended up happening, the finish of the match, Kofi was legal for his team, and I think Swagger was legal for his team. Kofi was getting beat down, but then they got a break, and Kofi went to tag the Miz. And Miz is standing on the apron. He's got his hand outstretched, and as Kofi comes closer, he starts pulling his hand back. He short arms him, and then Kofi finally goes to make the hot tag, the diving hot tag, and Miz throws his hands up and jumps off the apron, just smiling like an evil son of a bitch. And I started laughing my fucking ass off. Miz drops down off of the apron. He's just got this fucking cheesy-ass smile on his face. And Kofi ends up getting locked in the Patriot Lock by Swagger. And he has to tap out. So the Real Americans win. And all I can say about the match was just fucking lol. Miz has now turned back into a heel. Thankfully, because honestly, his face run... I like the Miz. But I don't think he really works all that well as a face. And the other thing about this is, I don't know if I covered this on the Wrestling Rant, but there was a match between The Miz and Kofi. Hell, they feuded. The two of them feuded for a long time. And they had a match, and Kofi hit the Trouble in Paradise, and he kicked Miz right in the damn face. Probably knocked him out. So, something tells me that might have been payback. You know? Not to mention the fact that Kofi's really just not that damn good. But anyways, I think The Miz works better as a heel, so now he's back to doing that. So, yeah. After that, they say that AJ and Vicky is going to be next. And then they cut backstage to the hallway outside of the trainer's room. Vicky is there, and she says... She knocks on the trainer's room, and she says, "John, help me." I'm guessing John is the name of the doctor or the trainer guy. And then she basically just kind of faints up against the wall. And the trainer opens the door and comes out, and he's like, "Vicky, are you okay?" And she's faking, obviously. They cut to a commercial. And when we come back, Vicky is on a damn stretcher, still faking. And Stephanie is there with the doctor, and he's like, "I don't know what the hell's wrong with her." And you can even see Vicky's head poking up, looking at him. And the two guys, they have like a couple of orderlies or something who are pushing the stretcher. They look down and they're like, "What the fuck is this?" You know, it's obvious that she's faking, and Stephanie's just like, "Yeah, I don't care. Take her ass out to the ring anyways. We gotta have this match." And Vicky is strapped to this damn stretcher, so she can't get away, which is great. They wheel her on this stretcher, kicking and screaming, and I mean fucking literally, this bitch is kicking and screaming as they push her out to the stage, down the ramp, and into the ring. And then AJ comes out to a pop with Tamina. And Vicky's still faking. They roll her chubby ass into the ring, and she's asking the referee for water. And this is where I have to kind of back up. For those of you who may not have heard, AJ apparently collapsed during a match during the European tour. She was in a match. It was her and Tamina versus the Bellas, I believe. And she collapsed. She was on the apron. She collapsed, apparently due to dehydration. And so this little thing with Vicky faking and needing water just seemed like they were really making fun of AJ and this, you know, dehydration thing. So, yeah, that really came off in bad taste. But AJ's okay, so... Anyways, the match finally starts between Vicky and AJ. And Vicky bails out of the ring and bumps into Tamina. And she's still faking being, you know, faintish or whatever. And Tamina's kind of holding her up, kind of waving her face like, "You're gonna be okay, bitch." And then Vicky just tries to run up the ramp and leave. And Tamina's just standing there like, "You bitch." AJ gets out of the ring, and she starts skipping as she does. You know, she starts skipping up the ramp after Vicky, grabs her by the hair, and drags the bitch back to the ring. And then I think Vicky tried begging off. AJ just locks the Black Widow on Vicky, and Vicky taps out immediately, so AJ wins. AJ and Tamina leave. Vicky's on the outside of the ring. She faints again. Quote unquote faints. Yeah. After that, they announce that at Survivor Series, we're going to be getting another Survivor Series tag team elimination style match, but it's going to be a Divas 7-on-7 match. I can't remember all the participants. I don't really care. I'm sure I'll be able to have it for the prediction video in a couple of days. It doesn't look like it's going to matter, though. I think AJ was on one of the teams, so we're probably not going to get a Divas title defense at the pay-per-view. Not that it really matters. Anyways, backstage in the office, there's Triple H, and he's talking to Damian Sandow and Dolph Ziggler. And he says, basically, you two are going to be in a match, and we're going to call it a Broadway Brawl. And you may be thinking, well, what the hell is that? And Triple H says, well, hell, I don't even know. Great, Trip. You just come up with something off the top of your head. You don't even know what the fuck it is, you jerk off. Anyways, he tells them to go out there and make beautiful music together. And they cut to commercial. And when we come back, it cuts directly into the ring, where you can see all these musical instruments. Guitars, there's an actual guitar, and then there's an acoustic guitar, and then I think there was a bass guitar, and there's a big bass, like cello, and there's a couple of violins, and a big drum set. All these musical instruments in the ring. And of course they're on stands and shit, all the guitars and stuff. Ziggler's music hits and he comes out to a huge pop, of course. Sandow's music hits and he comes out, and we have this match. And it turns out to be a decent match, but it's mostly just a hardcore match, because they're basically just bashing each other with these musical instruments. The first thing is Ziggler gets thrown to the outside of the ring, and Sandow grabs the guitar, the electric guitar. And Ziggler's up against the ring stairs, and Sandow goes to hit him with the guitar, but Ziggler moves, and the guitar ends up getting smacked up against the stairs. And then they go back in the ring, and Sandow grabs the guitar stand and hits Ziggler with that a couple of times. After that, they had a commercial break, and then when we get back, for some reason, Sandow has brought a chair into the ring. And the only justification I could find for this thing being in the ring is apparently it was one of the chairs used during the musical chairs segment. Yeah. Chair shots, and then I think he wedges the chair in a corner, and then there's a guitar shot, and then he hits him with a fiddle, or no, yeah, Ziggler grabs a fiddle and smacks Sandow with it, and then grabs him and hits the Faymaster on him. And then, of course, Sandow's up against the ropes, and Ziggler stupidly again goes for the zigzag, and of course Sandow holds onto the ropes and counters it. Seriously, that spot needs to go bye-bye. Ziggler, get a new finisher, please. Dude, I like you. Use something different. And stop doing it up against the ropes, it's dumb. Anyways. Oh yeah, as Sandow counters the zigzag, Ziggler rolls backwards and Damian grabs him and throws Ziggler head first into the chair in the corner. And then Ziggler gets thrown into the opposite corner where the big bass cello thing is, and he gets slammed into that. And then, Sandow grabbed the bass guitar, I think, and he hit Ziggler with that. And then Ziggler's still in the corner. Sandow goes to hit him, but Ziggler moves out of the way, and Sandow rams his shoulder into the post, and that's the turning point of the match. He goes down, and Ziggler grabs the snare drum from the drum set, and he pops that thing over Sandow's head. And then he grabs the big bass kick drum, and he plows that thing over Sandow's head. And Sandow's basically trapped in this thing. And then Ziggler grabs the acoustic guitar, and I'm like, yeah, of course they had to end it like this. He grabs the acoustic, and he starts doing the Jarrett strut, and I'm figuring, yeah, I knew this was going to happen. He blasts that fucking thing over Sandow's head, and it explodes and goes everywhere, just like, Jarrett always. And of course, that's it. Yeah, after the guitar shot, Ziggler covers Sandow, and that's the match. So, match is over. Ziggler won. Like I said, was a decent match. Kind of goofy, but hey, it was interesting. And Triple H even told him, make it entertaining. Well, god damn it was. After the match, Ziggler's kind of sat down in one of the corners, and he's got the electric guitar, and then he gets up and he starts strutting with it again. He's kind of strumming it. Anyways, after that, they recap from earlier, Randy yelling at Triple H and Stephanie from in the ring, the segment from the beginning. And then they cut back to the office again, and there's Triple H and Stephanie. Randy comes up, and he's still pissed off. And he's basically telling, he says, he asks them, do you have confidence in me? And they say, we have to think about it. And then it cuts backstage to Cena with his arm in a sling, talking with the same two country guys from before. Whatever, they cut to commercial. When we come back, Cena's music hits and he comes out, his arm's still in the sling, and he talks for a bit, and then they recap last week, Del Rio attacking Cena's arm, the whole chair thing, all that shit. And then they show the recap from SmackDown of the arm wrestling bit and Cena being put through the table. Like I said, we got to that. Cena's talking some more, and he finishes his boring-ass promo, the same fucking promo we've heard so many times. And it finishes with I'm gonna defend this title, and then I'm gonna say the champ is here, and that. And then Del Rio's music hits, and I can't believe how happy I actually was to see him. He comes out onto the stage, and he's talking, and he says, Cena, you say you're gonna hold that belt up after our match. I'd like to see you hold it up right now. Because Cena's arm's in the sling. Doesn't really happen. What ends up happening is Del Rio says a true champion takes advantage of any situation he can see. And right now he's seeing one because Cena has his arm in a sling. So Del Rio hurries up the ring steps and gets in the ring, and it starts looking like he's going to attack Cena, and then Cena says, you know what, you're right. A true champion does take advantage of any situation. And then Cena, with his hurt arm, or his sling arm, he whips that around, and obviously he was faking the whole time. He whips the sling off, and him and Del Rio get into a fight, and Cena goes for the attitude adjustment, but goes way too close to the ropes, and Del Rio just gets dumped out of the ring, and he leaves. So Cena looks like he was faking an arm injury. Heel tactics. Asshole. We cut to a commercial. And during this commercial break, there's a little video package or whatever that says, next week, we're bringing back the stupid guest host thing, probably just for 1 week. And our guest host is going to be Michael Strahan, the football player. A former football player. Apparently he's like an analyst on Fox or some shit for their football thing. I don't know. I don't watch football either. All this country garbage makes me puke. Anyways, but he's going to be hosting next week. So we get Raw Goes Country this week, which was a fucking disaster. And then we're going to have Michael Strahan next week. Like he's going to add anything. And didn't TNA already use this stupid having idiot sports people and idiot country music people in their show? And didn't it bomb in TNA too? Why is the WWE taking all the bad pages out of the TNA playbook? Anyways, back in the show, another new song hits. And a new Titantron as well, and it says Rhinestone Cowboys. But the Minitron says 3MB. So obviously those three chuckle nuts come out. And we get a recap of last week, them being the Union Jacks and still getting their asses kicked by the Matadors and El Torito. But anyways, those three guys get in the ring. And then R-Truth's music, and he comes out rapping with his new tag team partner, Xavier Woods, who was only mentioned once a couple of weeks ago on Raw. And I don't even know if I even covered this. It was a couple of weeks on Raw, a couple of weeks ago on Raw when Big Show was fired. The commentary guys mentioned that Xavier Woods was he had this petition that he was having people sign to get Big Show back. Yeah. No video packages, no vignettes, no nothing to hype up Xavier Woods. They just bring him into the company, up from NXT out of nowhere. And here's the hilarious thing. R-Truth and Xavier Woods were tag champions in TNA. Xavier Woods, for those of you who don't know, used to be Consequence's Creed in TNA. And if I recall correctly, at first they were known as Team Pac-Man. Because Pac-Man Jones, another idiot football player, who just returned to TNA, by the way. I heard about that dumb shit. I don't know if he's actually doing anything, but he was on one of the shows. It doesn't matter. But anyways, Team Pac-Man, Jones didn't do shit because he wasn't allowed to. But it was him and Truth. And then finally they decided to add a third person to the team, and it turned out to be Consequence's Creed. And so him and Truth were TNA Tag Champions, and now they debut as a tag team on Raw. And of course Truth is rapping, and he's talking about the idiot Rhinestone Cowboys and all this other shit during the rap. And then he finally gets the rap done, and he's like, I want to introduce my new tag team partner, Xavier Woods. Anyways, we get the match, and it actually turned out to be decent, mainly because it was just Truth and Woods beating the shit out of Mahal and McIntyre, who were the two guys who were wrestling. The match ends. Woods was the legal man, and I'm trying to remember if it was Mahal or McIntyre. I don't know, it doesn't really matter. But what ends up happening is Woods is in his partner, or he's in his corner with Truth, and he goes, "It's morphin' time!" Like he's one of the Power Rangers. He does a forward roll and then jumps up and clotheslines. Like I said, I don't remember if it was Mahal or McIntyre. He hits that, and Michael Cole goes, he calls that the honor roll. Okay, fine. And then he grabs, again, whoever it was, Mahal or McIntyre, he grabs him, arm ringers him, sticks his foot to his face, and hits the Eat Defeat, which used to be Gail Kim's finisher. He hits that on him. And that's apparently his finisher. He gets the win with that. So Xavier Woods in his debut match wins. And apparently he calls that move Lost in the Woods. The puns! My God. Anyways, we cut backstage to the office again. And there's Randy with Triple H and Stephanie again. And they say, after thinking about it, yeah, we have confidence in you. And that's why, at Survivor Series, the Shield is not going to help you. No one is going to help you. That way, when you beat the Big Show, you will have proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that you deserve to be the face of the WWE. Yada yada. So that just basically guarantees that either Randy's not going to win, or Randy's going to cheat his fucking ass off and probably resort to hitting the punt kick on Big Show to retain the damn title. Anyways, after that, they say, up next, we're going to have the musical performance from our country guest band, whatever you want to call them. And it's at this point where they finally actually say what the name of the band is. They're called Florida Georgia Line. Their performance is going to be next, and they cut to a commercial. When they come back, they say they're going to do a tag title match on SmackDown, The Real Americans versus Cody and Goldust. And then after that, they play this video of this WrestleMania hype-up stuff. You know, WrestleMania is only 4 or 5 months away still. We're going to hype it up a little bit. It's apparently the tickets just went on sale, and we're recording the fans and their reactions and all this shit. Who gives a fuck? After that, they finally do the stupid musical performance, and I had to change the channel because I ain't going to listen to that shit. And I wasn't the only one, because as I've mentioned before, I participate in a message board that discusses Raw every week. A lot of other people said that they were going to change the channel too. Anyways, after the stupid fucking musical performance, Daniel Bryan comes out. And then CM Punk comes out. And then they cut to a commercial. Yes, it's time for the big 12-man match. When they come back from the commercial, this is where they announce one of the matches for Survivor Series that I talked about earlier. It's going to be Bryan and Punk versus Harper and Rowan. Just a straight-up tag match. Right. After that, we get a recap of last week when the Shield and the Wyatts decided to beat up Punk and Bryan, and then, of course, the Usos and the Rhodeses came out to save them. And when we cut back to the ring, the Usos and the Rhodeses are already in the ring, and then the Shield music hits and they come out. And by the way, it has been exactly 1 year since their debut, and even Michael Cole says so. And then the Wyatts come out, and since their fucking entrance is so boring, they actually cut to a promo thing for Survivor Series where they announce the other big tag team match, which is a 5-on-5 Survivor Series match. I'm trying to remember exactly who it is, because I didn't write it down, I didn't see it really. I think it's going to be the Shield, all 3 members, and the Real Americans, Swagger and Cesaro, versus the Usos and the Rhodeses, and a mystery partner. And they didn't wait long to reveal who the partner was, but we'll get to that. We have our 12-man match, and it actually turned out to be good. The big highlights, there was some more tension between the Shield and the Wyatts. They didn't really get along at first. Then there was a commercial break, and then there was more tension between them. And Cody hit a disaster kick on Harper. And I'm trying to remember what happened. I think it was Rowan was in the corner, and oh yeah, right. Bryan had been tagged in, hot tag, and he came in fired up, and he was kicking the shit out of Harper, actually, I think it was. And all this big confusion, Bryan was hitting the guys in the corner, and he was going back to Harper and everything. He had Harper in the corner, and he was going to do the big drop kick, but Harper caught him, powerbomb position, comes running out of the corner, big sit-out powerbomb. Yada yada, there was more stuff. Bryan was he was crawling across the ring to tag one of his partners, and then of course the Shield guys and the Wyatt guys come over and they deck everybody on the other team. And then they gotta do a commercial. Once we come back, Punk finally gets tagged in and he's clearing house. And he hits the big macho elbow on Ambrose, I think. And he has to go back and forth and he hits somebody. And then he locks the Anaconda Vice on Ambrose. And it gets broken up by the two Wyatt guys. All of a sudden there's a clusterfuck. Everybody's flying all over the place. Big spam of finishers. The Usos dove out of the ring on the Wyatts or something. Punk goes for the GTS on Ambrose, but Ambrose slides down the back, grabs Punk by the head, and hits him with the headlock driver. And he goes for the cover, and I think it got broken up by Goldust. Right. Goldust broke up the pin, and then got speared the hell out of his boots by Reigns. And then I think Cody came in and hit the Crossroads on Reigns. And then I think Rollins came in and nailed Cody and knocked him the fuck out of the ring with something. But then Rollins gets grabbed by Punk, and Punk holds him up. Bryan hits the ropes and comes flying with a clothesline. They hit the Heart Attack, which was the Hart Foundation's old tag team finisher. Brett and Jimmy Anvil, yeah. So they hit that on Rollins. And then Punk and Ambrose were still legal. They end up bumping into each other back to back. They turn around, Punk grabs him up, hits the GTS on him, and covers him for the win. So, Punk, Bryan, the Usos, and the Rhodes win. All of a sudden, here come the Real Americans. They come in, and they start beating up on Punk and Bryan and whatever. We got big brawl going on between everybody. And then all of a sudden, the mystery opponent, or the mystery partner, is revealed to be Rey fucking Mysterio, shit knee and all. His music hits and he comes down to the ring, and he basically clears out all the heels. Hitting a big 619 on two of them, and whoever the fuck, and Harper gets hit with the GTS, and then he gets the big running super knee from Bryan, and he gets wiped out. And all the faces are celebrating, and I'm just wishing that Rey would screw his knee up again so he could fucking retire. Seriously, Rey. Will you fucking retire? Anyways, all the faces are celebrating. That's the end of the show. So, yeah. As usual, I'll just go over the matches again. First match was Randy Orton and Brad Maddox, no DQ. It was good for a couple of laughs just seeing Maddox crack Randy with a mic and plant him with that big DDT. But of course, Maddox had to get slaughtered. After that, we had Big E versus Axel for the Intercontinental title, and Big E won and become the new champion, which is great. Like I said, Axel didn't deserve to have that belt anyways. I'm hoping Axel doesn't even get a rematch. He probably will. It'll probably happen at the pay-per-view. But hopefully, if it does happen, Big E will retain and Axel will just disappear. Because he does not belong in the WWE. He's way too bland and boring, and he's not all that great of a wrestler. I mean, he's better than a couple of guys in the company, but these couple of guys are some of the shittiest. Like, he's better than the Great Khali, but the Great Khali is god-awful, you know. But anyways, we got that match. The Big Show versus Ryback was also decent. We had the first kick out after the shell shock. We got that. And then we had the Real Americans versus Kofi and The Miz. And again, that was just fucking funny because Miz trolled Kofi. Basically gave him a big middle finger. That's for kicking me in the fucking head, you prick. And then we had Vicky and AJ. The match was weak. There wasn't anything. It was Vicky running and then getting locked in the Black Widow and tapping out like the bitch that she is. Here's another favor that I have to ask the WWE. Stop putting Vicky in matches. She is not a trained wrestler. She should not be in the ring. Stop it. If you absolutely have to use her, just keep her as the general manager, talking roles. Don't put her in matches. She has failed repeatedly in every match she's ever been in. Just stop it. After that, we had the Broadway brawl between Ziggler and Sandow, which was again decent. It was entertaining, watching all those weapons, all those instruments get fucked up. And Ziggler won, which was cool. And then we got Mahal and McIntyre, the Rhinestone Cowboys, versus Truth and Woods, or Truth and Consequences. Yeah. That was their tag team name in TNA. We had that, which was again decent. It's nice to see Woods debut with a win. He's honestly not a bad wrestler at all. And the only other match was the big 12-man tag match. Punk, Bryan, the Usos, and the Rhodes versus the Shield and the Wyatts, which was good. Great finish, aside from Mysterio coming out and being a complete buzzkill. Seriously, Ray, just fucking retire. It's only a matter of time before you blow out your knee again. How long were you back the last time? A month? Maybe 2, and then you blew it out again and had to go out for surgery again? Let's just face it. The match between you and Sin Cara is never going to happen. It's not going to happen. Sin Cara's going nowhere, and your knee is not going to allow you to keep wrestling. Somebody said they may have seen Ray tweak his knee during the brawl. I don't know. I don't care. If he didn't then, he probably will at the pay-per-view, and he'll be out again. And thank God, because he really just needs to retire. Listen, Ray, just be a Spanish announcer. Be a regular commentator. I don't care. You'd probably be better than Michael Cole or JBL. And you'd be less annoying as a commentator than as a fucking wrestler. Because what really pisses me off about him is they push him as this giant killer. He's this little 5'0", 150 pounds at best little chipmunk motherfucker, and he's killing these guys who are twice his size, guys that are 3 times his strength. He hit that 619 on Harper, and I think Rowan was one of them. And I'm like, either one of those dudes, Harper or Rowan, either one of those dudes could brutalize Rey Mysterio. Either one of those guys could hospitalize Rey Mysterio. They would rip him to shreds in reality. In wrestling, you're supposed to be able to suspend your disbelief. Well, when Rey beats people that are 2 or 3 times his size and 2 or 3 or even more times his strength, there's no way to suspend your disbelief there. Rey Mysterio has beaten The Big Show clean in matches. I cannot ever believe that. Kane is 3 times Rey's size and 4 or 5 times Rey's strength. Show would knock Rey the fuck out. So to have Rey win is just completely insulting. If you want to have Rey back, bring back the damn Cruiserweight title and the cruiserweight division and have him do that. Have him go against guys his own size. Then it's believable. Then it's okay. And not only that, but you could use to bring back the cruiserweight title anyways, so some of these smaller guys would have something to shoot for. Guys like Kurt Hawkins or JTG, all these other younger guys who are smaller that, you know, they're never going to be used in the Intercontinental or the US division, and they're never going to be used in the WWE or World Heavyweight title division. Give them the Cruiserweight title to fight over. Let that go on. Have the Cruiserweight... I'm pretty sure I said this in my rant the other day. Bring back the Cruiserweight title. Have that be the glue that holds the show together. You've got so many filler segments on Raw, and it's 3 fucking hours. Put some of that shit away somewhere and have some Cruiserweight matches. If you want to take a page out of TNA's book, rip off the X Division. And it's not even like you're ripping anything off. You used to do the Cruiserweight matches. The X Division matches are some of the best things that actually happen in TNA. But no, let's not bother with them. They're too small, they're too young, they're not good enough. I'm sorry, but watching them go out and put on a good match like that would be more interesting and more entertaining than watching Cena overcome the odds for the millionth goddamn time. It would be more entertaining than watching Randy Orton get another dusty finish over somebody who should obviously be able to beat him. It's getting old. But once again, that was Raw Goes Country from Nashville, Tennessee, November 18th, 2013. Show wasn't really that good, but I suppose it was okay. There were boring parts where it dragged on, and the stupid fucking performance of the stupid country band. I'm hoping to see the ratings for this show, and I want to see how bad they dropped off during that performance. Anyways, that was Raw. That's it for the show. So, we will see you next time for the SmackDown spoilers. Tune in for that.